Hi attractive pupils, we are here to talk about Chapter 2, Population of Asia, and I'm going to speed through this really quickly because I just figured out I have too much information and so little time. Alright, you have 4 population clusters. You have East Asia, South Asia, Europe, and Southeast Asia. East Asia consists of China, Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. They're clustered around Pacific and fertile rivers. South Asia is Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, and they're clustered around rivers too, the Ganges River specifically. Europe is more clustered around cities and historical cities specifically, and major rivers. Southeast Asia is just a bunch of islands in the middle of the Indian and Pacific Ocean, so that's cool. You have population density, and there's 3 ways to calculate it. You have arithmetic, which is basically people divided by land, the total amount of land you have. Then you have physiological, which is the people divided by the total amount of arable land. And then you have agricultural, which is the farmers divided by the total amount of arable land. Now you have population pyramids. So population pyramids are used to show the age distribution for a nation, the development level, as well as the growth rate, and they can be used to analyze how disasters and wars affect a nation. So the population pyramids vary in the US because we have so many states. For example, Kansas is a college town, so it has lots of 20-year-olds. Florida is old people heaven, so lots of old people. Texas, you have lots of Mexican immigrants, so they bring their children along, which is why we have such a huge base in our population pyramid. So the world population right now is 7 billion. It's 7 billion, and the J-curve is used to describe how in previous eras the NIR was nearly 0 until the 1800s when it shot up. So now the world NIR is 1.2, but it used to be 2.2. So what I'm trying to say here is the population is still increasing, but at a much slower rate, which is why we have a decreasing NIR. Now we're going to go for the demographic transition. So stage 1, you have a very high CBR and very high CDR, which means you have no long-term NIR. So hunting and gathering were the main sources for obtaining food. Stage 2, you have a very high CBR, but a very decreasing CDR, which means an increasing NIR. So this is due to the fact that you have some type of revolution. So in 1750, Europe and North America had an industrial revolution, which caused lots of wealth, which means you have lots of healthier places. 1950s, Africa, Asia, and Latin America, they had the medical revolution, and that's good because, medicine is good. So you would have a population explosion in this stage. So stage 3, you start to see a decrease in the CBR and CDR, which means you have a moderate NIR. So then you start seeing a drop in CBR because of changing social customs. So people start to realize, hey, we don't need so many kids anymore. So they start to migrate to the cities, and the population change is resulting from immigration. Stage 4 is when you start to hit the developed country label. You start to get that label. So women start to enter the labor force. There's a wider variety of birth control methods, and also you have 0 population growth, like literally. The CBR and CDR are the exact same levels, so you wouldn't see any population increase. Stage 5 is when you start to see a phenomenon, so you have decreasing NIR, and that's due to the fact that you have an older population and people not having fun with each other enough. So you would see this type of phenomenon in communist countries such as Russia, and then also you would see it in Europe and Japan. Alright, moving on to key issue 3, demographic transition for diseases as well. So in stage 1, you have pestilence and famine, which is infectious diseases. So an example of this is bubonic plague, which was spread through rats and fleas on merchant ships, and it spread all over Europe and was a disaster pretty much. Stage 2 is receding pandemics, and this is due to improved sanitation, nutrition, and medicine, but you still had crowded industrial cities, so you would still have more contact with diseases. An example of this is cholera. So cholera is a disease that can spread through a medium like water. And so John Snow, he was the first person to use a GIS before it was digitally created. And what he did was he created a map with all the cholera victims and then layered it on top of a map with all the water pumps in the city. And he figured out that one of the water pumps was the reason why cholera was being spread throughout the whole city. So he's a genius pretty much. Stage 3 is degenerative diseases, and those are diseases that start to appear when you start to get really old. So those can be cardiovascular diseases or cancer. And then stage 4 is delayed degenerative diseases, and this is due to medical advancements and cancer treatment or removal. So stage 5 is the return of infectious diseases as seen in stage 1. So reasons could be first evolution or resistance to drugs. So that's the case in malaria for Sri Lanka. It re-emerged after the mosquito got drug resistance to the drugs that were administered to cure malaria. Second is poverty, which means you have no money to pay for medicine, and that's a problem in developing countries because like lots of developing countries have tuberculosis, but they don't have enough money to pay for the medication needed to kill off the bacteria of tuberculosis. And the third is increased connections like relocation, diffusion, or traveling through international airports. So HIV or AIDS is really important one. It travels from sub-Saharan Africa to the US through international airports located in New York, California, and Florida, as well as motor vehicle ports in Texas. So that's all for today. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.